welcome to myself, Max from Beanstalk.global, on one of our exciting 20 on 20 series. If you're not aware of what this is about, we decided that we wanted to, with our network, find fascinating, interesting, dynamic, inspirational people from the fresh food sectors globally. So not only in the UK, but in Europe, and through our connections in the likes of Africa and the likes of America. And you will have probably already seen, we've had some fascinating people on already. I suppose when I embarked on the 2020 series, one thing I sort of anticipated, it was going to be, and no offense to the people that we've had great conversations with, I suppose I thought it was going to be more golden oldies that we were going to attract. But then we suddenly had this sort of enlightenment that actually there's some really interesting, dynamic young people out there who are looking to make a real difference. And in our network, we came across a really interesting individual by the name of Will Hill. And Will's looking to make a real difference. And he said something on a previous recording I picked up, where he stated that my role is to enhance people's relationship with fresh produce. But what a thing to say. Talk about inspirational. And that's why we wanted to get Will on to our 2020 platform, so that we could find out about his mission in what he's looking to do within fresh produce on a UK and international basis to make a real difference. So let's get him on in. Will, come on in, please.
Hey, Max.
Will, hello. How are you, sir?
Not too bad. How are you doing?
Very well. Now, did I line you up well? Did I get this quote right, that your role is to enhance people's relationship with fresh produce?
That's it. That's exactly right. Yeah, that's probably my favorite line. I sort of like the enhancement of that statement, I suppose, is I want to enhance all relationship with fresh produce. So that being human, economic, and environmental. I think there's a number of different relationships that that fresh produce holds, and if we can enhance them all, then yeah, job done, I think.
Fantastic. Well, that's this program done. We can all
exactly,
go home now.
Exactly, yeah.
So come on, well, let's be serious. Let's hear a little bit about your background, because I think there's a positive tie in here. Why are you so passionate about fresh produce? Have you just walked into the sector, or have you got a family background to it?
Yeah, we've got a background to it. So I've been in the fresh produce sector my entire life. My family background actually goes back 5 generations, with my grandfather starting WT Hills, which is a business that still exists and thriving in Western International Market. And my grandmother, who married, obviously my grandfather married my grandmother, her family were involved in fresh produce business. I think it goes back now to close to 130 years.
Wow.
Yeah, that was all shops and markets, all based in London, north and south. And as I say, my father and uncle started just solely wholesaling by the time I came of age to start working. So I worked in the market for 10 years in Western International, which was fantastic. And then since that time, I've been working with different companies in import and export, just to broaden my knowledge of the industry, from grower all the way down to retail. So I found that a fascinating journey. And then around 4 years ago, started my own imports business back with my family as WT Hill Imports. And yeah, that's going from strength to strength as we speak. So yeah, fairly in depth.
Well, wouldn't it be fascinating to get some of your previous generation back here today and take them through the markets as they are, or the supermarkets, or out to growers, whether it be in the UK or overseas, and just to see what they think. So come on, Will, what do you think if we managed to do that with our sort of Doctor Who time machine? Do you think they would see a lot of difference, say 100 years on, from what they saw previously? What major changes do you think they would see from back then today?
I think there's probably one of the major changes would be, the shift in the shift in power, I suppose, and buying trends across the UK, with the predominant force being supermarkets, because obviously back in 100 years ago, people would travel to butchers, greengrocers and bakers and do their shopping in that way. But I think, like, with regards to the wholesale market, they'd be really interested to understand why products are available 12 months of the year. I think seasonality would be quite a big difference to them now. And I think I've seen a change in my time in that, where you'd almost like look forward to different seasons starting and beginning. there'd be a real sort of like, oh wow, like for example, right now, Spanish stone fruit's just about to kick in, and it was kind of like there was a little bit more seasonality to the trade. But I think they, you know, I'd love to hear what they think if they could see that as a positive.
It'd be fascinating, wouldn't it? That seasonality element of it, and I suspect they'd be trying to work out these retailers. What are retailers? Why have they got 85% of all sales in fruit and veg? I expect there'd be and also I don't want to say the demise of the high street, but the change in the high street. And
well, definitely, yeah.
So here's the question: when you are hopefully in a fortunate position to have kids and grandkids, so another 50 years, 100 years on, how do you think fresh produce is going to change 50 years, 100 years out? Go on then. Well, that's a big one.
This is a very big one. Part of the reason for me, you know, wanting to develop and launch my project with FruPro is to digitalize the industry, basically. And what I want to do is, I'm very fortunate to be the 5th generation of a family heritage, but I want another 5 after me. And I also want to be able to create a platform for the industry to absorb and attract new talent as well. I think that the pool that we're drawing from at the moment, shallow is the wrong word, but I want to make the industry a lot more attractive and open for people to join. So I'm hoping in, you know, 50 years time, when I can sit back and say, yeah, I was part of that revolution, if you like. We'll be looking at an arena where people are trading securely, people are trading fairly and ethically. We've enhanced the efficiencies of the supply chain from the very start to the very end. And we're starting to see that all famous line that we have a major enhancements to the relationship with fresh produce. That's where we'll be at.
Well done. I think you're so slick. So I set you up with this big hospital pass of a question, and you've managed to segue it into the business that you've created and the success that's going to bring about. So tell us now about FruPro, because this is the main reason that we wanted to get to you on, as well as your illustrious family history. Let's get into the nuts and bolts. What is FruPro, please?
So FruPro, what we wanted to create with FruPro is the centralized platform for communication and then trading. So in essence, taking the offline online. So at the moment, the industry is a fantastic place to work, and there are processes that do work, but we all know there are inefficiencies in the supply chain, which lead to huge amounts of financial loss. And probably my biggest concern is huge amounts of wastage. That's something that really shouldn't be happening. You know, the percentages are quite scary on product loss in the supply chain. So what I'd like to do and achieve with FruPro is provide the platform to exchange information, communication, understand the marketplaces that you're entering, understand the condition of product and how it's being received and how it's reacting on the marketplace. I want to be able to incorporate tradition that we've got right now, which is all important, but I want to incorporate that in a very digitalized sense so we can scale it. And, as I say, enhance the relationship. And I think that the tech is out there. I think the industry's got some amazing technologies available already. They are unfortunately a little bit siloed, I do believe, between company to company and not shared. And I think once we break into seeing what a centralized platform can deliver, that we'll see some really good results. So FruPro is that platform. To sort of summarize, if you imagine like LinkedIn, Instagram, WhatsApp, and a little bit of Zero rolled into one platform, that's what FruPro is going to be like.
Fantastic, Will. And we say it so often within our businesses that there's so much profitability held up within the supply chain.
Yeah.
And people, if they're watching this, they don't sometimes realize that, well, let's give it a nice extreme example. Ghana, West Africa, amazing business there. That's one of our key sponsors, Blue Skies. When they cut a pineapple and it goes into the pack house site in Accra, there's 4,500 people there working literally on a manual basis to slice up that pineapple and to put it into packaging, and it's then air freighted to the UK, and then it's then on the likes of Waitrose, Sainsbury's, M&S shelves for us to enjoy, from field to supermarket shelf, from Ghana to supermarket. it's less than 2 days. And so
Amazing.
that speed is so paramount, because in effect, everyone, that when you're cutting up fresh produce, it's sort of dying. Well, not, well, help me here, not dying. It's got to degrade very quickly.
Well, yeah.
It's not like making a mug that you can then put on a shelf and sell it 12 months, 18 months down. We're dealing with very highly perishable products here. And so if there's a swing against the market, whether that be consumer taste or something's happened in the market, there's the potential of huge amounts of product, amazing fresh produce product, to be, God forbid, dumped. And Will and I are talking in, where are we now, summer 2020, and just hopefully coming out of the back end of COVID lockdown. And there's this big discussion about food service, that there's been this decimation of food service in the short term. We're not going to pubs, cafes, restaurants, and there's so much supply chain of fresh food that's designated for that sector, but that sector's not taking it. So where does that product go when the consumer's not going out? And a lot of that product has been grown to a certain specification, and potentially worst case, it's been wasted. So it sounds like there's the timing, if it's okay to state, is sort of very, very opportune, that there's been this awakening within the sector that, use my line again, there's so much profitability held up within the supply chain. And so you're happy, you're positive, you're convinced that your offering of FruPro will be able to create that solution for the sector?
I think so. I think, like you say, again, I don't want to, it's not an opportunity. Corona and COVID is obviously is a terrible situation we find ourselves in. But within that situation, I saw the opportunity to, okay, we've got a proof of concept here. I can show, as you say, hospitalities, unfortunately, their businesses were decimated. People serving schools, restaurants, pubs, gyms, all of these kinds of things, their business stopped overnight. So I thought, listen, this is an opportune moment to prove this concept. So I basically created such a simple product, like not that scalable, but it's a type form sheet where I said, listen, if you've got some product that you want to offer, put it on there as I've got. I'll get the information out, and if people are looking, we can redirect what stock you've got. So we work with the likes of Reynolds, WT Hill Imports, who is obviously my other business, and we managed to save, I think, just over 300,000 kilos of fresh produce. Wow. That would have gone to the bin, but we redirected that to the wholesale market, which obviously had a resale value. And that's a major advantage to all across the chain, going back to the growers. And worked with some very cool companies like FairShare, got some good product out to the food bank. So we know what we're trying to do is just reduce waste. I don't know if we can ever neutralize it. I don't know if we can ever stop it completely, but if we can start to turn and reverse the trend, then I think that's the major steps forward, where we can start to say, like you quite rightly say. And I also think reversing wastage and then changing people's perception of fresh produce. So that enhancement to the relationship has got to be how people value fresh produce in their day-to-day life, like the consumer. Myself personally, I think fruit and veg is very undervalued in how it can enhance your life, and undervalued in price. And I think once we can explain, that amazing journey you just explained from Ghana to the shelves in 2 days, that's got to be valued, and people have got to see that value and understand it and appreciate it. And I believe with a transparent platform like FruPro, for the B2B to start with, the business to business, we can then export that, forgive the pun, information to the consumer and give them provenance and on what they're eating, and show and highlight these amazing people who work within the sector.
Well done. And let's just give a caveat that I'm a big supporter of Ghana, but let's also promote someone like the asparagus growers in Evesham, because exactly. they've been growing asparagus all year, and it's available now, and that goes in a similar sort of journey. And the frustrating bit I've got is that the God forbid, if we are wasting food, as we're getting through the back end of this COVID situation, our UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, he went down with COVID-19, and he stated one of the reasons he went down was because, don't swear, Max, because I was a fat bastard. I have sworn. I apologise. But we know that he said that offline, but online he said that I was overweight, and 1/3 of the UK population is overweight. and COVID picks on people that are overweight. We're going to be a fit nation. When we get out of this, I'm going to make sure that everyone gets fit. To me, Will, and I know you agree with me. To me, the cure to the obesity crisis is very straightforward. It's more exercise and eating more fresh produce. So there's that potential there to absolutely create success within the sector by getting people to eat more fresh produce. But yeah, we've got to raise the efficiencies of that. So within your with your business, where are you? How can we help? How can all the people watching today help you to create this success, to make this difference that we all want you to make? How can we help?
So where I'm at the moment, I've spent a lot of time with the proof of concept being successful, and my knowledge of obviously how the supply chain works. I spent a lot of time creating an MVP, which I believe will be the minimal viable product, basically, of what we'd like to launch. And what I'd like to do is get together with, your network, yourself included, Max, get a product out there for testing, get as much usage as we can. I want to make the product, as user friendly and usable as possible, because the only way this is going to work is if the industry uses it. And it's got to be, through the network, I believe we've got to get growers, importers, wholesalers and retailers all communicating on this platform. So, it'd be great if we could get some influencers there. And as we go through development, we will launch that product. I'll have that ready to go through my own investment, but then I'm going to look to get strategic partners for, future investment and future build outs where people can come on board, specializing in logistics, whatever they might specialize in that specific area. I think the more skill sets we can bring on, the better. So I'd love people to get involved and get in contact.
Well done. I think some of the best marketing I see is it's actually marketing that doesn't exist. It's well, this is the expression, I'm sure you've heard it before. 50% of all marketing doesn't work. You just don't know which 50%.
Yeah.
What if you and I are talking about this, your network is going to get even more aware of what you're doing, and our network is going to get even more aware. And what I hope from having this conversation is that people will say, "Oh, hello, Will's a bit different. FruPro's a little bit different. We must look to assist. We must look to talk about it." And then that's what I'm hoping, everyone, that this will garner the support, the enthusiasm for Will's product. So but let's get down to some nuts and bolts about it. Are there any limitations to what you've created, what you're creating? Are we just looking at asparagus grows in Evesham, or are you looking for it when you've successfully got it out to work on an international basis? So what's your thoughts? Are you looking for just UK support? Are you looking for international support? What's your thoughts?
Always been guilty of dreaming very big, Max, and I want it to be a worldwide product. I want it to be the centralized platform everywhere. I know, and I do understand that dynamics of different markets are different also. So, to go back to Ghana for an example, Africa, West Africa, South Africa, I'd like to have people representing the FruPro brand and platform there, and understanding their needs and wants and giving them that clear access to market, giving them the full credit for what they do, and then them understanding the journey of their product, and then the understanding backwards as well, as I say, from consumer back to field. And this is a worldwide project. I'd like to, as I say, sit back in 50 years time and say we were part of that revolution. Now, the revolution can't just be where I am in Hertfordshire with a few growers. I love it here, I love the UK, but it's fresh produce is global, and that's what I want to be.
Fantastic. Well, I've just got to pull you up on something. When you say that you've got global ambitions, I have to nominate everyone. Will supports Chelsea, so I don't know how that works on the global ambitions. So how can people get in contact with you? How can people engage with you? How can we take this further forward?
I think at current state, the website's live, fairly interactive, but easiest way to contact, I just prefer direct contact, always have. So if you just email me directly at will@frupro.com, then, we'll get talking. It's the best way now. I just, info at or accounts at, don't do that. Talk to me directly. Will at FruPro.com. And yeah, if I can get as many contacts, as much networking done as possible to find out, you know, information gathering, even if someone's got an opinion to say, I like this, I don't like that, throw it at me. I'm happy to take all conversations on.
Fantastic. Well done, Will. And we'll obviously tag your website and your email address, if that's okay.
Thank you.
When we push that out. And everyone, just to wrap up, just to reiterate what I stated, when we set up these Beanstalk 20 on 20s, I thought we were going to have really interesting veterans of the sector who were going to tell us about them conquering their version of Africa back in the day. And that's why I'm so excited to have likes of Will. Isn't it going to be just so interesting to watch him as he progresses with this adventure of his own, and hopefully we can all help. And as I intimated, rather than him having to spend a gazillion on rubbishy marketing that's not going to do anything, we need to get behind him. So we would love everyone to get behind Will, to get in contact with Will, either, and help me on this, Will, either as an investor, as a supplier, as a grower. I think more the merrier in some degree. So if you would like to get in contact with Will to find out more, we'll tag him top and bottom so that you can do. Will, it's been fascinating to talk to you today. I don't know what we do about you supporting Chelsea, but we mentioned Ghana a little bit today. In Ghana, they love Chelsea.
There you go.
So I suspect some of our Ghanaian friends will be right on to you to engage with you on that point alone.
Sounds good.
Thank you very much for your time. You keep safe, and we look forward to getting you back on shortly so you can update us on how things are progressing.
Thanks so much, Max. Stay safe and look forward to speaking to you.
Well done, Will. All the best.
Take care now.
Bye.
Bye.